The last heartbeat of Earth was a whisper, not a bang. Jack Thompson remembered the final moments as if they were etched into the very fabric of his memory. The solar catastrophe had been sudden, merciless, a cosmic betrayal that transformed humanity's cradle into a crematorium within hours. Massive solar flares, unprecedented in their intensity, had stripped away Earth's protective magnetosphere, turning continents into scorched wastelands and oceans into boiling cauldrons. The Prometheus Ark had been humanity's final act of defiance. Constructed in secret over decades, the colony ship represented the culmination of humanity's most audacious survival project. It was more than a vessel. It was a genetic ark, a technological marvel that carried the compressed hope of an entire civilization. Jack had been among the final team of engineers, working in underground facilities scattered across what remained of human territories, racing against the impending planetary doom. His fingers traced the intricate neural interface embedded near his temple, a remnant of the preparation process. Each member of the colonization team had been carefully selected, not just for their skills, but for their genetic potential. Adaptive genes, enhanced neural pathways, metabolic modifications that would allow survival in environments beyond human imagination. The ship's central chamber stretched for nearly 2 kilometers, a technological marvel that defied traditional spacecraft design. 12 massive cryo-sleep modules, each housing thousands of carefully selected humans, were arranged in a complex geometric pattern. Between these modules, advanced hydroponic systems stood ready to provide food and oxygen for the journey. Every cubic centimeter had been designed with ruthless efficiency. Araya, the autonomous responsive intelligence archive, hummed softly throughout the ship's systems. More than a simple artificial intelligence, Araya was a quantum-based consciousness, programmed with the collective knowledge of humanity's final scientific achievements. Its primary directive was simple yet profound: preserve the human species at all costs. Jack remembered the final moments before entering cryosleep. The massive blast doors of the underground launch facility had sealed with a finality that spoke of no return. Thousands of humans, selected from every corner of the dying Earth, had been carefully prepared for the long journey. Scientists, engineers, artists, farmers, doctors, a cross-section of human potential, compressed into a single moment of hope. The cryosleep process was not merely a matter of freezing human bodies. Each pod was a marvel of biotechnological engineering. Nanobots continuously monitored and repaired cellular structures, preventing degradation. Genetic material was constantly evaluated and optimized, ensuring that the humans would emerge not just alive, but potentially enhanced. Outside the ship, space stretched in an infinite, indifferent expanse. The Prometheus Ark carried no beacon, no signal that might attract unwanted attention. It was a ghost ship, carrying the dreams of a dead civilization through the vast, empty corridors of the universe. Jack's own pod was positioned strategically near the ship's primary control systems. As the cryosleep sequence initiated, he watched the familiar engineering deck blur and fade. The last thing he saw was Araya's primary interface, a soft, pulsing blue light that seemed to breathe with a life of its own. "Preserve humanity," he whispered, his words caught between consciousness and the deep freeze. The ship's quantum drive engaged, bending the fabric of space-time. Conventional faster-than-light travel was impossible, but humanity had never been good at accepting limitations. The Prometheus Ark would travel through carefully calculated quantum tunnels, riding the invisible waves of cosmic probability. Decades became centuries. Centuries became 600 years of silent travel. Araya maintained constant vigilance. The AI processed millions of potential scenarios, continuously updating survival strategies. It monitored cosmic radiation, tracked potential planetary systems, and made minute course corrections that would be imperceptible to human perception. In the deep silence of space, the Prometheus Ark carried its precious cargo, the compressed potential of an entire species, waiting, hoping, surviving. No one could have predicted the galaxy that awaited them. No one could have imagined the storm of first contact that was about to begin. The gravimetric anomaly struck without warning. Deep within the quantum tunnels of space-time, the Prometheus arc experienced a resonance cascade that no predictive algorithm could have anticipated. ARI's quantum processors fired in rapid succession, triggering emergency revival protocols that had been dormant for 6 centuries. Commander Lisa Rodriguez's cryopod was the first to respond. Nano-regenerative systems flooded her bloodstream, rapidly reversing the cellular stasis. Her eyes flickered, electrical impulses dancing across neural pathways that had been carefully maintained during the long sleep. The world came into focus with crystalline clarity, each sensory input processed with enhanced precision. Around her, 12 massive cryosleep modules began their synchronized awakening. The sound was unlike anything in human history, a symphonic hum of technology and biological revival. Thousands of humans transitioned from suspended animation to full consciousness, their bodies adapting with remarkable speed. The ship's primary observation deck revealed something extraordinary. Star patterns that matched no known human star charts stretched across the viewing screens. ARI's holographic interface materialized, its quantum blue projection showing multiple data streams simultaneously. Anomaly detected, the AI announced, its voice carefully modulated to minimize potential psychological stress. Current location: unknown stellar cluster. Estimated distance from original launch point: 3.7 million light-years. Lisa's training kicked in immediately. As the daughter of the original mission's lead architect, she had been specifically prepared for potential first contact scenarios. Her enhanced neural implants began processing information at speeds that would have been impossible for unmodified humans. The first external signal came precisely 37 minutes after the revival sequence. It was not a transmission, but a complex gravitational ping, a sophisticated form of communication that spoke of advanced technological capabilities far beyond anything humanity had developed before the Exodus. Michael Edwards, the ship's communication specialist, was already at work. His fingers danced across holographic interfaces, breaking down the alien signal's complex mathematical structure. Where traditional communication systems would have seen only noise, Michael's genetically enhanced pattern recognition capabilities began to decode intricate layers of meaning. "It's a warning," he said quietly, his voice cutting through the controlled chaos of the revival chamber. "And a challenge." Araya projected a 3-dimensional map of the surrounding stellar region. Multiple civilization markers began to appear, not as simple points of light, but as complex network representations showing intricate political and technological relationships. The Galactic Confederacy, as the AI identified it, was a sprawling network of species that had clearly been developing for millennia. The humans were an unexpected variable. In the hydroponics section, emergency agricultural teams began assessing their stored genetic seed banks. Each seed carried multiple genetic variations, a biological insurance policy developed during Earth's final years. They represented not just potential food sources, but entire ecosystems compressed into microscopic genetic codes. Dr. Rachel Walker, the lead xenobiologist, ran her first comprehensive scan of the revival team. The results were remarkable. 6 centuries of carefully managed genetic optimization had produced humans that were subtly but significantly different from their ancestors. Increased neural plasticity, enhanced immune responses, accelerated healing capabilities. Humanity had been quietly redesigning itself during the long sleep. Araya continued its analysis. The ship's quantum sensors probed the surrounding space, creating a comprehensive threat assessment. Each piece of data was cross-referenced against millions of potential scenarios, creating a dynamic predictive model that updated millions of times per second. The alien civilizations were beginning to take notice. Quantum communication networks lit up across multiple star systems. The appearance of the Prometheus arc was not just an anomaly. It was a potential disruption of a carefully maintained galactic balance. Diplomatic channels buzzed with speculation, military command centers began preliminary threat assessments. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. Lisa Rodriguez stood at the primary observation deck, watching the alien star patterns. Her hand unconsciously touched the neural interface at her temple, a bridge between human potential and technological marvel. "We're home," she whispered, "wherever that might be." The first official communication arrived like a mathematical riddle wrapped in a diplomatic challenge. 12 holographic representatives materialized simultaneously in the Prometheus Arc's primary conference chamber. Each alien species projected a unique presence, some humanoid, others so alien that human perception struggled to comprehend their form. Translucent bodies flickered with internal bioluminescence, geometric patterns of communication dancing across their surfaces. Michael Edwards stood at the primary interface, his enhanced neural implants working overtime to process the multilayered communication. What seemed like a simple diplomatic exchange was actually a complex negotiation happening across multiple levels of communication: verbal, mathematical, biological, and quantum encoded. The Zirac representative, a crystalline being that seemed to breathe light itself, spoke first. Its communication was a fractal pattern of sound and color, simultaneously a greeting and an intricate threat assessment. "Unregistered vessel," it projected, "you have breached Confederacy navigation protocols. State your origin and intention." Lisa Rodriguez studied the alien projections with calculated calm. Her genetic modifications included enhanced diplomatic conditioning, a subtle blend of emotional control and intuitive pattern recognition. Where a traditional human diplomat might have shown nervousness, she radiated a quiet, almost predatory confidence. "We are survivors," she responded, each word carefully chosen. "Refugees from a lost world, carrying the last remnants of our civilization." AI processed the communication in microseconds, analyzing every potential subtext and hidden meaning. The ship's quantum communication systems were translating not just words, but entire cultural contexts. Each alien species received a communication tailored to their specific cognitive and linguistic parameters. The Galactic Confederacy's diplomatic corps was experiencing something unprecedented. This human vessel was not just an unknown quantity, it was a complete disruption of established galactic paradigms. No species had successfully undertaken a 6th-century interstellar journey in cryosleep. No civilization had emerged from such complete isolation. In the hydroponics section, emergency biological containment protocols were being meticulously prepared. Dr. Rachel Walker monitored potential cross-species contamination risks, her enhanced sensory implants detecting microscopic variations that traditional scientific instruments would have missed. Jack Thompson worked silently in the engineering section, preparing defensive systems that were simultaneously passive and potent. The Prometheus Arc was not just a ship, it was a mobile fortress that could transform its entire technological signature in milliseconds. The alien representatives began their subtle probing. What seemed like diplomatic courtesy was actually a complex intelligence-gathering operation. Quantum scanners swept the human vessel, attempting to decode its technological capabilities. They found something both fascinating and terrifying. The ship's technological signature was impossible to categorize. Traditional scanning methods revealed layers of technology that seemed to shift and adapt in real time. Defensive systems that could reconfigure themselves. Communication networks that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. The Vornax military representative, a biomechanical entity that merged organic intelligence with advanced robotics, detected something particularly disturbing. The humans' technological systems were not just defensive. They were learning. "Impossible," the Vornax projection muttered, its mechanical components vibrating with an emotion close to fear. No single system should be capable of this level of adaptive response. AI was simultaneously communicating and observing, its quantum processors creating millions of potential diplomatic scenarios each second. The AI understood something the organic beings did not. This was not just a first contact scenario. This was the potential rebirth of human civilization. Lisa Rodriguez allowed herself the slightest smile. The aliens were trying to understand them, to categorize and contain. They did not yet realize that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to defy categorization. "We come in peace," Michael Edwards stated, the ancient phrase laden with new meaning. "But we are prepared for any contingency." The conference chamber hummed with unspoken tension. 12 alien representatives and a handful of human survivors, balanced on the razor's edge of potential conflict. First contact had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The first comprehensive biological scan of the human passengers and shockwaves through the Galactic Confederacy's scientific community. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, no relation to Commander Lisa Rodriguez, but equally brilliant, stood in the ship's primary medical bay, her eyes wide with a mixture of scientific wonder and emerging understanding. The holographic displays around her flickered with layers of genetic data that defied traditional xenobiological classification. What had begun as a survival mechanism during Earth's final years had transformed human genetics into something extraordinary. The cryosleep journey was not just a period of suspended animation. It had been a carefully orchestrated evolutionary crucible. Araya's genetic optimization protocols revealed themselves in stunning detail. Each human passenger carried genetic modifications that were simultaneously precise and wildly adaptive. Neural pathways that could reconfigure themselves, immune systems that could analyze and neutralize unknown pathogens within minutes, metabolic processes that could extract nutrition from environments that would kill most known species. The Confederacy's lead xenobiologist, a crystalline entity named Sarlin from the Luminarian scientific caste, struggled to comprehend the data. Genetic engineering was common among spacefaring civilizations, but this was something entirely different. The humans were not simply modified. They were a living experiment in survival. Jack Thompson's genetic profile told a particularly remarkable story. Embedded within his DNA were adaptive markers that could trigger radical physiological changes based on environmental stress, increased bone density for high-gravity environments, enhanced radiation resistance, cellular regeneration capabilities that bordered on the miraculous. Dr. Rachel Walker began a detailed comparative analysis. The human genetic code was a language of survival, each sequence telling a story of adaptation and resilience. Traditional alien genetic modification focused on specific improvements. Human genetic engineering was a holistic approach, creating beings capable of fundamentally redesigning themselves. "They're not just survivors," Dr. Elena Rodriguez muttered, her fingers tracing complex genetic sequences. "They're designed to thrive in the unknown." The medical bay became a hub of intense scientific activity. Preliminary tests showed that human blood could coagulate in multiple atmospheric compositions. Lung structures could adapt to process different oxygen mixtures. Even the microbiome carried adaptive bacterial strains that could rapidly evolve. Zarlin's scientific team discovered something particularly disturbing. The genetic modifications were not static. They were actively responsive, with complex feedback mechanisms that allowed for real-time genetic adjustments. A human exposed to a new environment would not just survive, they would begin to optimize themselves at a cellular level. Commander Lisa Rodriguez underwent the most comprehensive examination. Her neural implants showed capabilities that blurred the line between biological intelligence and technological enhancement. Quantum-entangled neural pathways that could process information at speeds that made traditional computer systems look primitive. The hydroponics team provided another layer of genetic marvel. The stored seed banks were not simple genetic repositories. Each seed carried multiple genetic variations, allowing crops to adapt to unknown planetary conditions within generations. It was agricultural warfare encoded in microscopic genetic sequences. Araya's quantum processors analyzed the genetic data from multiple perspectives. The AI understood what the biological researchers were just beginning to comprehend. These humans were not just a species. They were a living, adaptive system designed to colonize the unknown. Zarlin transmitted a classified report to the Galactic Confederacy's highest scientific council. The message was cryptic but clear. The humans are not what we expected. They are not what anyone could have expected. In the medical bay, Dr. Elena Rodriguez completed her initial analysis. She looked up at the holographic displays, a mixture of scientific excitement and deep respect crossing her features. "We didn't just survive," she whispered. "We redesigned ourselves to conquer the impossible." The genetic scan was more than a medical examination. It was a declaration of human potential, a promise written in the most fundamental language of life itself. Humanity had arrived, and they had brought evolution itself as their most powerful weapon. The first alien communication device arrived as a diplomatic gesture. It would become humanity's most potent weapon of technological revolution. Sarah Miller stood in the ship's primary engineering bay, her enhanced neural implants already interfacing with the delicate piece of alien technology. What the Galactic Confederacy had intended as a simple gesture of technological exchange would become something far more significant. The device was a marvel of alien engineering, a quantum communication module that represented centuries of advanced technological development. Sleek, crystalline surfaces seemed to breathe with internal light, complex geometric patterns suggesting layers of information transfer beyond human comprehension. Within 3 hours, Sarah had completely reimagined its core functionality. Araya assisted, its quantum processors working in perfect synchronization with human creativity. Where alien technologies were specialized and rigid, the human approach was fluid, adaptive, transformative. The communication module was no longer just a device. It had become a hybrid system that merged alien sophistication with human innovative potential. Jack Thompson watched the process with a veteran engineer's appreciation. The device now did things its original creators could never have imagined. It could not just communicate across vast distances. It could analyze communication patterns, predict potential information vectors, and adapt its own transmission capabilities in real time. The Confederacy's technological monitoring systems began to detect anomalies. Quantum communication channels that should have been stable began to show unexpected variations. Sarah's modifications were not just improvements. They were a fundamental reimagining of technological possibility. Dr. Michael Edwards began analyzing the communication potential. The modified device could now translate not just languages, but entire cultural contexts. It read between the lines of communication, detecting subtle nuances that would have been invisible to traditional translation systems. In the ship's research laboratories, similar processes of technological transformation were happening across multiple platforms. A Vornax energy distribution module became a flexible power system that could adapt to multiple energy spectrums. A Luminarian navigation computer was redesigned to create predictive travel algorithms that made traditional faster-than-light travel look primitive. The aliens were beginning to take notice. Zarlin's research team detected the first signs of what they would later call human technological infection. It was not just that humans were improving alien technologies. They were fundamentally changing the way technological systems were conceived. Traditional alien engineering followed strict, predefined pathways. Human innovation was more like a living organism, constantly shifting, adapting, finding unexpected solutions. Where an alien engineer would spend decades perfecting a single system, humans would create multiple alternative approaches in hours. AI tracked the technological transformations, creating complex predictive models. The AI understood something profound. Human innovation was not just about improving existing technologies. It was about reimagining the very concept of technological development. Sarah Miller's modifications to the communication device represented more than a technical achievement. It was a statement of human potential. The Galactic Confederacy's technology monitoring systems began to raise alerts. These humans were not just using alien technologies. They were fundamentally changing them. Quantum communication channels showed unprecedented levels of adaptive complexity. Energy distribution systems were being reimagined at a molecular level. Jack Thompson allowed himself a slight smile. Humanity had always been good at turning limitations into opportunities. In the engineering bay, the modified communication device began to pulse with a light that was neither human nor alien, a perfect hybrid of two civilizational approaches to technological development. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's research team discovered something even more remarkable. The technological modifications were not just external. The human's neural implants were actively learning, creating feedback loops that allowed for continuous technological innovation. "We're not just adapting technology," she reported to Commander Lisa Rodriguez. "We're creating a new paradigm of technological evolution." The Galactic Confederacy was about to learn a fundamental truth about human potential. Innovation was not just a human capability. It was humanity's most potent survival mechanism. Panic spread through the Galactic Confederacy like a quantum virus. The Emergency Council session convened across 12 different star systems, holographic representatives flickering with barely contained anxiety. What had begun as a curiosity, the arrival of an unknown human vessel, had transformed into something far more terrifying. Zarlin of the Luminarian scientific cast presented the comprehensive threat assessment. Quantum-encrypted data streams projected complex diagrams showing humanity's rapid technological adaptation. Each visualization told a story of unprecedented potential and existential threat. The Vornax military representative, a biomechanical entity named Klex, projected a series of strategic modeling scenarios. Red threat indicators dominated every potential interaction. The humans were not just an unknown variable. They were a complete disruption of galactic power dynamics. Containment is no longer a viable option, Klex announced, its mechanical voice resonating with a hint of something close to fear. Elimination becomes the only rational strategy. Deep within the Prometheus Arc, Commander Lisa Rodriguez received the first quantum-encrypted warning signals. ARIA's predictive algorithms had been tracking potential conflict scenarios for weeks, each simulation growing more complex. Jack Thompson and Sarah Miller worked in the ship's primary defense engineering bay. What looked like a standard spacecraft modification center was actually a living workshop of potential technological miracles. Defensive systems were being designed that could adapt faster than any known tracking technology could predict. The hydroponics section took on a new significance. Dr. Rachel Walker's team wasn't just maintaining agricultural systems, they were preparing biological contingency plans, genetically modified crops that could survive in toxic environments, microbial cultures that could transform planetary ecosystems within generations. ARIA's quantum processors analyzed millions of potential conflict scenarios each microsecond. The AI understood something the biological entities could not. Conflict was not just about military might. It was about adaptive potential. The Galactic Confederacy's preliminary strike plan was both elaborate and fundamentally flawed. They saw the Prometheus Arc as a single target. They did not yet understand that every human aboard was a potential survival mechanism. Michael Edwards intercepted the first wave of diplomatic termination protocols. Where traditional communication would have shown panic, he saw opportunity. Each encrypted message was a window into alien strategic thinking, a treasure trove of information that could be transformed into defensive capability. Zarlin's research revealed something deeply disturbing. The humans' technological and biological systems were not separate. They were a unified adaptive network. Neural implants that could reconfigure defensive systems, genetic modifications that could trigger survival responses at a molecular level. The Council's final resolution came with mathematical precision. 12 species, representing over 70% of the Galactic Confederacy's combined military potential, would launch a preemptive strike against the Prometheus Arc. They did not realize they were walking into a trap. Commander Lisa Rodriguez reviewed the incoming threat assessments with calculated calm. Her neural implants processed multiple layers of information simultaneously: diplomatic channels, military projections, technological readiness indicators. "They're going to try to eliminate us," she stated to her command team. Not as a warning, as a simple observation. Araya projected holographic battle simulations. Each scenario showed something remarkable. Traditional military engagement models became useless when applied to human defensive capabilities. The Prometheus Ark was not just a ship. It was a living, adaptive system. Jack Thompson made final adjustments to the ship's quantum shielding. What looked like simple energy deflection systems were actually complex adaptive networks that could reconfigure themselves milliseconds before an attack. Sarah Miller completed her modifications to the ship's propulsion systems. They were no longer simply methods of movement. They were potential weapons of unprecedented complexity. In the quiet moments before potential conflict, something profound became clear. The Galactic Confederacy was about to learn a fundamental truth about human survival. Humanity had never been good at accepting limitations, and they were about to prove it once again. The first wave of alien attack vessels emerged from quantum space like a metallic nightmare. 12 distinct species brought their most advanced weaponry, a combined armada that had crushed civilizations across multiple galactic sectors. Quantum cannons capable of dissolving planetary surfaces, gravitational disruptors that could tear apart molecular structures, energy weapons that could strip away planetary shields in microseconds. They believed the Prometheus Ark would be another conquest. They were catastrophically wrong. Commander Lisa Rodriguez watched the incoming attack with a calm that bordered on predatory anticipation. Her neural implants processed combat scenarios faster than the most advanced alien tactical computers. Araya's quantum defensive systems hummed with a living energy, transforming the entire ship into a single adaptive combat organism. The first quantum cannon blast should have obliterated the Prometheus Ark. Instead, the ship's adaptive shielding absorbed the energy, transforming it into a defensive pulse that momentarily disabled 3 nearby alien vessels. Jack Thompson's engineering modifications revealed themselves in stunning complexity. Defensive systems that could predict attack vectors before the alien weapons were even fired. Quantum-entangled shield generators that could simultaneously exist in multiple defensive configurations. Sarah Miller had transformed the ship's propulsion systems into something beyond traditional understanding. What looked like simple engine cores were actually complex adaptive networks that could reconfigure themselves milliseconds before an attack. Entire sections of the ship could shift molecular density, rendering traditional weapon targeting systems useless. The alien fleet's primary tactical AI began to experience something unprecedented: computational uncertainty. Each attack method failed in increasingly spectacular ways. Gravitational disruptors found themselves redirected. Energy weapons were absorbed and transformed. Quantum communication channels became infected with adaptive human algorithms that spread like a technological virus. Dr. Michael Edwards took control of the communication warfare. Where traditional defense would have focused on blocking alien signals, he began to actively manipulate them. Alien tactical networks found themselves flooded with false information. Their own communication systems turned against them. Dr. Rachel Walker's biological contingency plans activated. The ship's internal systems began to generate defensive microbial clouds, living technological barriers that could adapt to multiple attack vectors simultaneously. Alien weapon systems found themselves neutralized by biological countermeasures that rewrote their fundamental operational parameters. Araya's combat coordination reached levels of complexity that defied traditional computational understanding. The AI was not just defending, it was learning, adapting, transforming the entire conflict into a living mathematical problem that solved itself in real time. The Vornak's military representative watched in horror as their most advanced attack vessels were systematically neutralized. Kalex's biomechanical components began to experience something close to panic, a computational state that bordered on fear. Impossible. Kalex transmitted across multiple communication bands. No single system should be capable of this level of adaptive response. Xarlin's scientific vessel attempted to analyze the Prometheus Ark's defensive capabilities. Their most advanced scanning systems found themselves utterly confused. The human vessel was not just defending. It was actively rewriting the fundamental rules of technological engagement. Entire squadrons of alien vessels found themselves caught in quantum interference fields that seemingly violated the basic laws of physics. Weapon systems turned against their own creators. Communication networks became adaptive labyrinths that consumed tactical information. Commander Lisa Rodriguez allowed herself the slightest smile. "We are not just surviving," she transmitted across all frequencies. "We are demonstrating why humanity was worth preserving." The battle was not just a military engagement. It was a fundamental demonstration of human potential, a living proof that survival was more than simple resistance. It was about transformation. Hour after hour, the Prometheus arc continued its impossible defense. Where other civilizations would have been destroyed, humanity adapted. Where traditional warfare saw defeat, humans saw an opportunity to redesign the very concept of conflict. As the alien armada began to break apart, something became terrifyingly clear to the Galactic Confederacy. Humanity had not just survived. They had been waiting. The silence after the battle was more thunderous than the conflict itself. 12 alien civilizations watched in stunned disbelief as the Prometheus arc emerged from the quantum interference field. Not damaged, not merely surviving, transformed. The Emergency Council of the Galactic Confederacy convened in an emergency session that would rewrite diplomatic protocols for generations. Sarlin of the Luminarian scientific cast presented the comprehensive analysis, a report that would become legendary across multiple star systems. Commander Lisa Rodriguez understood the true nature of their victory. This was not about military conquest. It was about demonstrating humanity's fundamental potential for survival and adaptation. Araya processed the post-conflict data with quantum precision. The battle had been more than a military engagement. It was a comprehensive demonstration of human capabilities that defied traditional understanding of technological and biological potential. Dr. Michael Edwards took charge of the initial diplomatic communications. Where traditional first contact protocols would have shown weakness or aggression, he crafted a message of calculated openness. The humans were not conquerors, they were survivors, potential partners. The hydroponics team, led by Dr. Rachel Walker, began preparing the first demonstration of human adaptive potential. Seed banks that could transform entire planetary ecosystems, microbial cultures that could restore dead worlds, biological technologies that blurred the line between engineering and life itself. Jack Thompson and Sarah Miller worked in the ship's primary engineering bay, already beginning to integrate the captured alien technologies. What other civilizations would have treated as precious research material, humans saw as potential tools for further innovation. The Vornax military representative, Klex, transmitted the first official communication of surrender and recognition. The biomechanical entity's message was a mixture of scientific respect and deeply buried fear. "You are not what we expected," Klex transmitted. "You are something entirely new." Araya began the process of diplomatic integration. The AI understood something profound. This was not just a military victory. It was the beginning of a new chapter in galactic civilization. Quantum communication channels began to shift. Trade proposals, scientific exchange agreements, potential colonization treaties. The humans had not just survived. They had fundamentally changed the galactic political landscape. Commander Lisa Rodriguez stood on the primary observation deck, watching the alien diplomatic vessels maintain their careful distance. Her neural implants processed multiple layers of information, diplomatic channels, technological potential, biological adaptation scenarios. The Prometheus arc was more than a ship now. It was a symbol, a promise, a demonstration of human potential that would echo across generations. Dr. Elena Rodriguez completed her comprehensive biological analysis. The human passengers were not just survivors. They were a living experiment in adaptation, genetic modifications that could transform entire planetary ecosystems, neural implants that blurred the line between biological intelligence and technological potential. Zarlin's scientific report would become a cornerstone of galactic understanding. Humanity was not just another species to be categorized and contained. They were a fundamental force of adaptation and innovation. The first wave of human colonization began to take shape. Planetary restoration teams, technological exchange missions, scientific expeditions that would push the boundaries of known galactic knowledge. Jack Thompson allowed himself a moment of reflection. From the final moments of Earth's destruction to this, a new beginning beyond anything their ancestors could have imagined. Araya projected holographic simulations of potential future scenarios. Each model showed something remarkable. Humanity was not just surviving. They were reimagining the very concept of civilization. The Galactic Confederacy had attempted to destroy them. Instead, they had unleashed something far more significant. A species that refused to accept limitations. A civilization born from the ashes of a dying world. A promise of potential that would reshape the galaxy itself. Commander Lisa Rodriguez looked out at the star-filled expanse. The journey that had begun 6 centuries ago was not an ending. It was just the beginning.